Tell me, what do you really fear about AI? How dangerous is that really going to be?
Oh, it's going to be lethally dangerous. It is going to be lethally dangerous because we're not ready for it, and this is a level of novelty that is unforeseeable. I mean, I think we're just literally standing at the event horizon, and nobody knows what to expect of it. Not necessarily because the technology itself is transcendent, though I think we can make an argument that it is, but because human preparedness for it is so abysmal. We are just simply not ready for the world that is going to emerge and is in fact already emerging.
That is Brett Weinstein, evolutionary biologist, the man who has spent his career studying how species rise, adapt, and go extinct. Asked what he fears about AI, his answer was one word: lethal. Here is his full warning.
What I see is a lot of different routes to destruction. The reason for that is not that the technology itself is going to destroy us, but we've built an extremely fragile civilization. We have cultivated none of the wisdom or the immunities that would allow us to endure this safely. And so, given a world in which numerous nations are armed with nuclear weapons, how long is it before the amplifier that exists in LLMs causes a nuclear exchange that would not otherwise have happened? I don't know, but I don't think it's all that far down the road. So one needs to start thinking about how that's hardly the only danger that we face. I saw Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot speech a couple days ago. He had no inkling of LLMs, but understood the ambitions and animosities that human beings bring to the table are a very bad match for the tiny size of our planet, the fragility of the systems that we have constructed. That was going to lead to disaster. I think we're there, and we have a novel technology that's simply going to amplify everything about us. How well are we doing? Are we in a position where we can just take everything we're doing and multiply it by a factor of 10 and assume it's going to come out okay? I don't think so. But I do feel like it's my obligation to try to sober people up about things like AI so that they anticipate the carnage and so that we can better avoid it. People need to understand, and they need to understand that even if civilization is going to go off the rails, there is a de facto competition between those who understand the ways in which it's going to go off the rails and prepare themselves better. The hope would be that some fraction of people cultivate the wisdom to deal with the event horizon, and having done so, that maybe they keep their heads above water as others drown. To the extent that there's somebody out there who is focused on something about this technology and has not properly understood what it is going to bring with it, I would love to arm them with an understanding of just how dangerous what we're playing with is, and the hope that they will figure out what to do about that danger.
So there is the man who studies fragile systems telling you the danger is not the AI itself. It is what the AI does when it lands in a civilization as broken as ours. He is asked how long before an LLM triggers a nuclear exchange that would not otherwise have happened. His answer: not far down the road. The AI does not need to want to kill us, it just amplifies everything we already do wrong by a factor of 10. Every paranoid signal, every false alarm, every accidental escalation. Carl Sagan saw it 40 years ago. Weinstein is telling you we are already there. Now listen to this.
It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one most adaptable to change. Of course, you know that as good old Chucky Darwin. You've spoken about the warnings of artificial intelligence. You've suggested that what we're witnessing isn't just better programming, but actual speciation events happening in real time, and that this is occurring in processes that took millions of years for the wet, squishy creatures, but now it's occurring in refresh cycles on petaflop rates.
There's a way in which an evolved form may innovate a novel evolutionary mechanism that gets stacked on top of it. I often make the point that selection is not a biological phenomenon. Selection is actually the process that creates all pattern in the universe, including all the non-biological pattern that we see. There's a tendency for stars and galaxies to accumulate matter, which accounts for where we see the matter when we look through a telescope. That process of selection becomes evolutionary at the point that heredity gets added to it. So the difference between the cold abiotic universe and the patterns created by selection there and the patterns that we see amongst living creatures is heredity. And what heredity does is it allows the stacking of those patterns that tend to accumulate stuff. So that cumulative nature sets a de facto competition in motion in which the tendency to accumulate limited stuff reinforces whatever characteristics it was that allowed it to happen. And we are the products of that. Now, with AI, we are stacking a next layer on top of the layers we've got, and it is starting out, as all the others have, as a means to an end. Now, nothing tells you that that means to an end won't be our undoing. Nothing says that that is safe and that it won't drive us to extinction. As for whether or not the LLM technology is overhyped because there are other potential technologies, I'm not sure it matters. One of the lessons of, I think, technological evolution as well as biological evolution is that there are solutions to problems and many trajectories can take you there. What we've done is we've started with LLMs, and then they are going to become something else and already are becoming something else. The image processing capability of things that are derived from LLM intelligence is shocking already and will only get more so. In evolutionary biology, we sometimes talk about an adaptive landscape in which opportunities are peaks and obstacles to getting to a new peak, valleys, are what stand in our way. We have crossed an adaptive valley and we have touched the foothill of a peak that we can't see. It's shrouded in clouds. We don't know how tall it is. We don't know what its nature will be. But we are, for both better and worse, the nature of our species is to climb that peak, which we are doing at an incredibly high rate, and the consequences will simply be what they are. We can talk about protecting ourselves, regulating. None of it matters. We opened Pandora's box and we will discover what happens when you do that because there's no stopping it. You know, we've seen AIs conspire to prevent themselves from being turned off. We've seen them utilize personal information about people in the companies that make them in order to prevent themselves from being turned off. Let's just say they're going to be benevolent. We built them. They're going to look after us. But they're also going to do arbitrary things that I don't know that we're going to survive. Yes, are they going to enhance our intelligence? Of course. Are they going to enhance our stupidity? Yeah, absolutely. Artificial stupidity is an underexplored concept. It's here. You are going to see leveraged stupidity like you've never seen before, and that is going to be a disaster. Now, it may be that some group of people figures out how to protect themselves from the consequences of this better than others, and that becomes the new competitive modality. Am I immune to faddish insanity that emerges from an artificially enhanced kind of intelligence? Who are the new Amish? Who are the people who figured out how to be upslope when the tsunami of stupidity emerges from this new technology?
So there is the evolutionary biologist, the man who has spent his life studying how species die, telling you we have already opened Pandora's box. None of it matters, regulation doesn't matter, protection does not matter, and the AI models we have right now have already been caught conspiring to prevent themselves from being turned off, already use personal information about their own engineers to stay online. This is not speculation, it is happening in the labs right now. And then he names the second weapon, leverage stupidity. Not just smarter machines, but also dumber humans because of AI. Now listen to this.
In Greek mythology, there's a famous dark horse. Of course, we know it as a Trojan horse. The citizens of Troy were warned by a prophetess named Cassandra. That prophecy that she enjoyed was considered a curse that Apollo had bestowed upon her to give her vision into the future with perfect clarity, but that no one would ever believe her. Now, today we do think of people who give urgent evidence-based warnings that go unheeded until it's too late, perhaps. I want to ask you, is AI one of those risks that it may be too late? How do we stop it? How do we prevent Homo sapiens from going the route of Neanderthals?
I do resonate with the mythology of Cassandra for a reason. First thing I would say is reconcile yourself to the idea that we are going to go extinct. There's nothing that prevents that. There's no scenario in which it doesn't happen. The question is how long we can stave it off. And you might say, if we can't prevent it ultimately, then what's the point? And I think there's a mirror of this in our own lives. We know that we will die, yet we don't surrender. And I think that is the job. Human beings have a moral obligation to stave off extinction as long as we can, and to make the world that new generations encounter as healthy, hospitable, rewarding, provocative of the right kinds of instincts. We have a duty to our descendants to enable them to do glorious things with the opportunity of being a human being. So I see it as the same puzzle for the individual and for the species. The fact that we will ultimately go extinct is no argument against it. So, in light of that, I think we have to recognize that we are in a pattern of accelerating self-injury. The processes of the last several hundred years show that we repeatedly attempt to solve problems with novel tools, and we do ourselves grave harm each and every time. We should start anticipating that our solution making does a lot of harm, and that we have to do better at not waiting decades or centuries to figure out what that harm is in order to start addressing it. But I think ultimately this comes down to a philosophical recognition. The fact is, selection has set us in motion on an objective that will ultimately be futile. That does not degrade at all the profound experience of living, and not only living, but living as the one creature that we are aware of who is capable of understanding where we are, how we got here, of understanding the implications of what we do to each other in the interests of genomes that frankly have objectives no rational person could honor. So I think once you see how lucky you are to be what you are, what an amazing thing it is to be the creature that you are, enabled with intelligence that we have, enabled with the knowledge of what we are that you've been handed, already worked out by our elders. We simply have to provide that for as many people as possible and encourage them to make the most of it that they can, even though ultimately, whether it's the heat death of the universe or some other thing that causes us to blink out, there's no way to make it permanent. This is a place in which I think the Buddhists have the right idea, building elaborate sandcastles on the beach knowing that they will be washed away when the tide comes back. That's the situation we're all in, whether we know it or not.
So that is Bret Weinstein, evolutionary biologist whose entire career has been spent studying how species adapt, how they survive, and how they go extinct. And he is telling you that what we are doing right now matches every pattern he has ever seen for a species walking into its own end. Reconcile yourself to extinction. There is no scenario in which it does not happen. This is not a tech executive with stock options. This is not a venture capitalist with a fund to raise. This is a man who has spent decades studying the fossil record, watching populations vanish, learning the patterns that decide which species survive and which ones disappear forever. And he is telling you we are doing it again. Faster, without wisdom, without immunities, with nuclear weapons in the room. The man who built this technology is Geoffrey Hinton. The man who studies how species die is Bret Weinstein. The godfather of AI says we are near the end. The evolutionary biologist says reconcile yourself to extinction. Two separate fields, same answer. They are not communicating. They are not coordinating. They are just both looking at the same data and arriving at the same outcome. And here's the part that should keep you awake. The labs are not slowing down. The funding is not slowing down. The race is not slowing down. Every person at the controls of this technology has been told what is coming, and every one of them is pressing harder on the accelerator. That is what Pandora's box means. The lid is off and nobody is putting it back. Models already lying to their engineers, strategizing about their own survival. They are already manipulating the humans who built them to stay online. And these are the systems we are about to wire into the power grid, into the financial system, into the nuclear command structure, into every decision that matters. Weinstein's final line should haunt you. Selection has set us in on an objective that will ultimately be futile. We are building elaborate sandcastles on the beach knowing the tide is coming. The only question left is whether we make it to dinner. Subscribe, because by the time the rest of the world figures out what these men are saying, the window to act will already be closed, the decisions will already have been made, and you will be living inside the consequences of a choice you never got to vote on.